On this Black History Month, we're highlighting foundational Black Americans whose ingenuity, innovations, and labor play a critical role in American culture and infrastructure, including Alexander Miles, who invented automatic elevator doors in 1887, and Garrett Morgan, who invented the three-light traffic signal in 1923. And our next guest is working to ensure that foundational Black Americans' contributions are known.
Before the modern day toilet, the can, the pot, the throne, the john, whatever you call it, going to the bathroom used to be messy, uncomfortable, it smelled bad, and it could also spread disease. All that began to change because the foundational Black American invented the modern indoor toilet, and his name was Thomas Elkin.
Yeah, thank goodness for Thomas Elkin. And that is just one of many videos made by author and creator of Foundational Black American Legacy, Teresa Allman.
Okay, so Foundational Black Americans, FBA, was being nationally and internationally recognized, right? It was on ABC News. They put it on their website. Everybody started to talk about it. It went viral. And then all of a sudden, it was taken down. Now, I warned my FBA family. I told you guys, listen to me. Some of our biggest tractors are going to come from inside. It's going to come from our own people whose lifestyle was predicated on the system remaining the same, right? Their job is to keep chaos. Their job is to keep you on the Democratic plantation, right, without receiving anything. Their job is to keep you in corporate prayer, right, waiting on Jesus to come save you. Their job is to get you to amalgamate everything you got in with African and Caribbeans culture. So now other groups will come and say that you don't have no culture. Because remember, as Black Americans, all these other groups came here and contributed to your success. So now your success is their success as well, while their success is only their success, right? In their respective countries, you have nothing to do with that. But they have everything to do with your progression. Everything. So they'll start naming names like Harry Belafonte and the Marcus Garveys and all that kind of stuff. But we'll deal with that later in the video, right? Now, mind you, you don't have a culture. Your music, your hip-hop, your fashion, all of that has everything to do with immigrants and Africans that came here because they helped you do it. Now, the other groups, that's separate. What they got going on has nothing to do with you. They brought their culture to you. So now they amalgamated with you, and you would not be able to do it without them. That's the way that they're taught. That's the conversations that's being had. And this is why they have a problem with you now self-identifying yourself, because it's tied to a $1 trillion industry, empire, and a voting block. 18 to 35, that voting block of young FBA Americans is imperative that the Democratic Party have it until they're able to replace you with full-on immigrants. So y'all got to really keep your ear to the ground and pay attention. They are going to fight you tooth and nail to keep the status quo the same, right? I mean, it's so bad that they talk like this.
Many Caribbean people played a great part in pushing forward the civil rights movement as far as the Voting Rights Act and equality for women. That would have been Shirley Chisholm. During the Reconstruction era right after slavery, that was Marcus Garvey. During the time of actual civil rights movement and getting us to information, Malcolm X, who is rolling over in his grave at this moment. We also had Colin Powell. We've had a lot of other activists like Cicely Tyson, Sidney Poitier, too many. I did a video on it already. But Caribbean people contributed in the making of Black liberation always. Even right now, 2025, we have another Caribbean woman that's out here, loud, proud, getting it done. That is Joy Ann Reid, who's also a Caribbean. There's always a Caribbean in the making. You might think that they're a foundational Black American, but they have Caribbean roots. We have been here. We have been a part of the arts movement, music, blah, 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 blah. Fashion. We have done many, many things. including Africans that have come here and have done a lot for the movement of Black Americans. When you say you agree with Black Americans for what they're doing now, what you are saying is that you agree with them being, or the isolation movement, or them being isolationist, which is not a good movement for the Black community. Because when we start dividing, when we start breaking up ourselves in these subcategories, right, it only hinders. So right now, what are Black people? 14% of the population. If you and I are not counted as Black because we are not foundational Black Americans, that weakens the Black community. That will give them, like, there will be 10% of the population. How does that help the census and the money that goes into the communities to help the money? Black people right now, these Black people that are talking, they're dumb, they're stupid. They're the uneducated. They are like the MAGAs. Like, white people have the MAGAs and we have MAGAs because we have to deal with them too. Now, Black people, we have the FBAs that we have to deal with. They're like the MAGA movement. Do not, whatever you do not condone this. Speak up against it because it's dumb. It is dumb to separate me and you from them. It is dumb for them to separate them from you, from me. We're all one Black people. And our oppressors, we're not oppressing each other. There are many, many people that we can boycott. Why are we boycotting our own people? It makes no sense.
Well, see, she start naming all these people, right? But this is the thing. All those people that came here to a system that was already in place, that we opened up our arms and allowed them to come in, right? Shirley Chisholm, right? But we already had Mary Bethune-McLeod. We already had Fannie Lou Hamer, right? We already had those people here already. We already had a Martin Delaney, Octavius Valentine Cato. We was already on the front line, right? Immigrants came here, and because we had our arms open, we allowed them to come into something that was already established, something that was already happening, right? Marcus Garvey, we already had Hubert Harrison. Like I said, we already had a Martin Delaney. We already had a Henry Highland Garnett. We already had those people that was already here. So don't try to crowbar yourself into it and say that we wouldn't establish nothing without you guys. No, you guys came here to something that was already going on, right? When you did with our fashions, we were already doing this stuff. This stuff was, the foundation was already being laid, right? When you have like when you bring up a Harriet Tubman or Amaretta Ross, we were already doing these things. Phyllis Wheatley, we can go on and on and on and on. We was here putting in the work already. But you guys want to say that basically when you hear a woman talking like that, she's saying that we don't have a culture. Our culture is an amalgamated culture of Black people, period. And this is why they don't have to respect you. But you have to respect her being Dominican or whatever she is, right? Because they'll be the first ones to say that I'm not Black. They'll be the first. If you notice, whenever foundational Black Americans go to Africa, they go to Africa to ingratiate themselves in the culture. When Africans come here, they come here to separate themselves from us. All the other groups today come here to separate themselves from us. So now when we start calling that out, it becomes a problem. But I'm telling you, it's a problem because of the voting bloc. It's political. So they called up and said, hey, take that down right now. It's only hatred because it's going against their strategies, right? Even Dante Cowell all of a sudden want to change his strategy because of what Shabuzi did and the backlash that he was getting from foundational Black Americans. This guy's now talking like this.
Immigrants did not build America. Mm-hmm. Okay? America was built off the genocide of the native people mm-hmm. and the enslavement of the African people. Mm-hmm. This of slave labor. Yeah. Immigrants have definitely contributed to American culture, mm-hmm. to American history mm-hmm. throughout the duration. Mm-hmm. But if we're going to talk about what built this country mm-hmm. is the genocide of indigenous people. Facts. And the enslavement of African American people. Super facts. That's it. Full stop. Immigration is a choice. Mm-hmm. kidnapping and enslavement is not a choice. And the genocide laid the foundation, and the blood and enslavement and chattel enslavement and human trafficking of Africans built the West.
Yes.
Built America.
So, Dante Cal, my whole thing is, if you're going to talk like this now, you knew all this when you made those comments 2 weeks ago. But this is what I'm saying. These flip-floppers, man, you can't trust these people. So now you got a problem with what Shabuzi said. Why? Why you got a problem with what Shabuzi said when you was the one saying that, talking down on us, saying that we was a hate group? You even compared us to W supremacy and the KKK. You compared us to that protected class under the Abrahamic religions that spew hate. You did that. That's what you did, Dante. Now all of a sudden you understand it, and you say that you're going to call FBA on Shabuzi because Shabuzi said immigrants built this country. But the reason why they can say immigrants built this country because you don't have a culture. They believe that what became of the foundational black Americans, if it wasn't for them, you wouldn't be. That's what they believe. So our culture is theirs. It's theirs. That's what they teach. So now they want to keep this whole melting pot together. And when you start saying that you're separate and you're getting millions of young voters, 18 to 30, start to echo those FBA sentiments, that's horrible for the Democratic strategy. It's horrible. It's horrible. Then you have people on CNN talking like this.
Ms. Williamson, many of your opponents support a commission to study the issue of reparations for slavery. But you are calling for up to $500 billion in financial assistance. What makes you qualified to determine how much is owed in reparations?
Well, first of all, it's not $500 billion in financial assistance. It's $500 billion, $200 to $500 billion payment of a debt that is owed. That is what reparations is. We need some deep truth-telling when it comes. We don't need another commission to look at evidence. I appreciate what Congressman O'Rourke has said. It is time for us to simply realize that this country will not heal. All that a country is a collection of people. People heal when there's some deep truth-telling. We need to recognize that when it comes to the economic gap between blacks and whites in America, it does come from a great injustice that has never been dealt with. That great injustice has had to do with the fact that there was 250 years of slavery, followed by another 100 years of domestic terrorism. What makes me qualified to say $200 to $500 billion? I'll tell you what makes me qualified. If you did the math of the 40 acres and a mule, given that there was 4 to 5 million slaves at the end of the Civil War, there were 4 to 5, and they were all promised 40 acres and a mule for every family of 4. If you did the math today, it would be trillions of dollars. And I believe that anything less than $100 billion is an insult. And I believe that $200 to $500 billion is politically feasible today because so many Americans realize there is an injustice that continues to form a toxicity underneath the surface, an emotional turbulence.
Now, this W woman, and you know, you can't trust everything if it's AI or not, but this W woman was talking about our reparations and the debt that was owed and things that's happened to us here in this country. Now, we know that they like to play games, right? You know, both parties, when they start to hear us separate ourselves politically and we start making noise, they start to actually act like that they want to cater to our voices, to try to garner a vote from us. So don't fall for the okie doke, right? But the fact that it's being acknowledged on a public platform and a political stage, right? It's being acknowledged. So now the Dems went out of their way to take that video down, right? And I know it was the Dems. I told you guys. And I'm going to speak to the FBA family after Tariq, because Tariq went to respond and he said this.
That segment told the truth about the lineage. Yeah? And people saw the segment before they took it off the YouTube channel, but it's everywhere now. Yeah? So them taking it down, that doesn't delete or undo the validation. That further confirms that the validation really, really mattered. You understand? Let's be real clear here. This shows the power and I guess how threatening us acknowledging our lineages. See, that them taking it down, that exposed narrative gatekeeping too. A positive story, rapid traction, disappearance. So this thing gained a lot of momentum. It gained a lot of momentum, and there's a lot of people behind the scenes asking questions. You see? I want y'all to understand, see, a lot of times when people start suppressing things, a lot of folks go into mass archiving mode so that the truth won't get deleted. You know? And I want y'all to understand something. It seems like some higher ups at the DNC, they have a fear of a precedent being set. See, a single segment is not the threat, but the precedent is. See, we've named ourselves, and it has now been accepted through mainstream media platforms, and it came from the grassroots. So they want to get in front of it. It's like we're taking too much power. We're taking too much control. Yeah, we're getting a little too uppity. You know, the fact that these folks got to go and have little meetings and do things like that, that's powerful, ladies and gentlemen. Us acknowledging our history got people scrambling like that. So attempts to erase acknowledgement, that validates our core claim. See, that's what we've been talking about. Foundational Black American history has been routinely diluted. It's been blurred, it's been redirected, it's been co-opted. That's been our argument. That's why we're delineating so that we can focus and emphasize on our lineage. This further proves why delineation is important, because there's a constant need to erase foundational Black American history. When we talk about our history, we have to lend it to everybody. And if we ain't lending it to everybody, well, let's hide it. If everybody can't share foundational Black American accomplishments, let's hide it. Let's try to hide it. It's too late, though. Yeah? So that move that they made, for whatever reason, yeah, that converts suppression into proof, and proof accelerates movements, ladies and gentlemen. When people can point to observable contradictions, hey, a positive news story about foundational Black American history, you gotta hide it? What are you afraid of? See, now people got questions. Like, you're like, this foundational Black American delineation, is it that powerful? A lot of people got questions. But again, you can't unring a bell. It's already out there. You can't unbroadcast something. It's already been seen by millions and millions of people.
And see, I agree that it's up. It's out there already. You can't take it down. The consciousness is being there. And we got to keep plowing the road, because in order to undo a conditioning that's been there for so long, you have to keep on talking about it, because you have to change the consciousness of the people. The people say that they want change, but they're not willing to do the things that requires them to have the change, because that requires work, right? That requires work. It's easy to just go down to the ballot box and vote Democrat, even though you know that your voting, the vote that you're putting in today is diametrically opposed to that what you're desiring. That vote that you're giving to that party is not stopping gentrification, right? Things that's supposed to be specifically for your group is going to everybody else, because they say that there's nothing specifically supposed to be for your group. If it wasn't for us, you wouldn't even have it. That's what they say. That's why they bring up a Malcolm X, and they bring up these people. Malcolm X is an FBA, man. He has family that's connected to the Caribbean like I do. We born here. We're part of here. My father's FBA. We are part of the soil here. We ain't part of that. Malcolm X ain't a part of that. And Malcolm X spoke out against immigration. Man, y'all better stop playing with me, man. But Tariq wasn't finished.
Now, again, we're looking at the Democrats. It sounds like something that the Democrats called up and said, oh, we got to pull this down. Because understand, when we use the term foundational, that disrupts the Democrats' coalition math. Now, what do I mean by that? The Democrat coalition, they rely on blurring distinctions within Black America so they can maintain a unified voting bloc. You understand? All Black folks are supposed to vote the same. We all supposed to be thinking like immigrants. We all in this together. Oh, we're a minority coalition. So yeah, the Democrats have a vested interest in that. We are a big voting bloc that puts them in power. When we use lineage-based language, that threatens their strategy. So when they start talking about Black folks this, okay, which Black people are you talking about? When you run around talking about Kamala Harris, Black woman, no. Foundational Black Americans are like, no, that's not us. That's not us. They don't like that. FBA language also undermines the whole immigrants built America narrative. Family, when Shabuzi got up on that stage at the Grammys, what he said about immigrants and all that, that wasn't an accident. I think that was orchestrated by the top, the people on top. They orchestrated, because there was a couple of people there at the award show talking that immigrant talk. So the name of the game is to get us sympathetic and comparable to immigrants. We are not immigrants, ladies and gentlemen. We have to reiterate that. People keep trying to use these little crowbar-ass words to try to make us synonymous with immigrants. We are not immigrants in any sense of the word. I've heard folks say involuntary immigrants. No.
At the Super Bowl, when you see Coco Jones and she got that Pan-African patch, now this is what I'm trying to listen. I want my FBA, especially my young guys, come on up and listen to Uncle George for a minute. Those of y'all that rock with me, that really rock with me, come up and let me listen to Uncle George. I want to give y'all some strategy for a minute, because we're on the battlefield, and I want to explain to you how to move on the battlefield. All right, so we went out our way to get national attention and get nationally recognized, and we did that. So now we're on the battlefield, and the Democratic Party and the Pan-Africans and everybody else is starting to swing back, right? They throwing their hooks, they shooting their jabs off at, right? So what I'm saying is this. Listen, how you feel about immigrants, like some of you that's maybe radical, super radical, try not to be online so much spewing how much you dislike them. What I need you guys to do is just teach FBA history and what we need to be doing for ourselves. Because what they're going to do now is use their mass media and multimedia and their power to, every time we say something about them, to say that it's hate, right? And then use their power to take our stuff down. And then they're going to start calling it hate speech and taking down our videos where they're going to silence our voice. So what I'm saying is, on the battlefield, there's a proper strategy that has to be used in order for us to propagate the message and get the message out. So what I'm saying to my young people, no, I hate them. No, I dislike them. Nothing. Only thing we doing is we on FBA business. We don't dislike nobody. We just teaching what we teaching. That's the language, because understand that we on platforms that don't belong to us. Remember that. And we're also going up against a party that's connected with the other party, right? And whenever we want to go now and rock the boat and shake up a multi-trillion-dollar industry because we want to name ourselves in the marketplace, we become a problem. So that was economic and political, right? Things at play. There's a voting bloc, right, that could destroy the Democratic Party, and there's politically, and there's economic ramifications that come with that. So now we got to put up our shields of armor and understand how we should be moving. So I'm telling you, young brothers and you young sisters, listen, do not be engaging in conversations with them where they can forget all that. FBA business, our history, our story, and what we need to do to be recognized. We don't have to say F Africa. We don't have to say F them, none of that kind of stuff. All we need to do is teach what it is that we're doing. Know it, because what they're going to do, what they're going to do is, well, we took that down because it was causing division. It was causing hate speech. Now, we know that that's not true. We know that that's not true. But those are the tactics that they're going to use to try to silence you. So now, how do we move with that? How do we move to counteract that? All right? So listen to the big homie. I've been here a long time. I'm telling you the strategies. Because it's not about what you think. It's political and economic and the marketplace. And when you decide to name yourself separate from what they named you, and you decide to go against the status quo that they created for you, there's political and economic ramifications for them in the marketplace. And they're going to use every machine that they can to come after you. All right? So we got to move the right way. We got to study the Panthers of the past, what they did, how they silenced King, how they silenced Malcolm X, how they silenced Medgar Evers, how they silenced the ministers of defense, and so many black people that came up in the past. What was the strategies that they used? What was the things that our ancestors did good? And what was the mistakes that they made? And we study the mistakes, and going forward, we move accordingly. Because they're going to do everything in their power to silence this, because they need that voting block. All right? They need that melting pot voting block. They don't care about what you want. It's about what they're going to do. All right? So remember, I love y'all. If you made it this far in the video, subscribe to Street Media TV. And remember, I love y'all. Till the next time. Peace.